Alright, Chevy guys, name that noise. Sometimes that howl is deafening. This truck did just sit for almost a year, but it's made that noise for years, plural. It sounds like it's coming from the front side of the engine. I know the clutch is installed wrong because it doesn't fully disengage. But that sounds like deep in the block up here. This engine is an AutoZone reman with 6,000 miles on it over the course of 7 years. It's got good oil in it. It's got good oil pressure. I don't know. You need to listen to 3D printer instead of a squeaky 350. It's made that noise for years, and it's always started hard, and it's always felt like the starter was going bad, and then I bought a new starter for it, and before I even installed it, I realized that the negative terminal of the battery's partially stripped, wasn't making good contact. Everything was magically better. Well, still made the squeaky noise, obviously. Starting was fine. Well, then I went to start it after it had been sitting because of the frame issue, and it wouldn't even crank. It wouldn't even attempt to rotate. So I hooked up a couple deep cycle batteries to jumpstart it, and it wouldn't crank. So I stuck my clamp amp meter on it, and it was drawing 258 amps at 0 RPM. Not great. So I'm like, oh, maybe the starter finally did die. Well, I also broke down and went and bought a good Chlor Automotive jump pack, and it barely cranked with that even. So after cranking and cranking and cranking and cranking, cranking, it finally got up to speed, and it started up and made the squeaky noise. But it was almost like the engine was seized up. I could not turn the belt at the alternator, which I've done on big blocks many a time, and the engine just doesn't want to rotate. Now, I know the clutch is goofed up. The previous owner installed it. I think he installed the plate backwards. This side towards the engine is sticking out, and that would cause it to never disengage completely, and it grinds shifts sometimes, and you put it in first gear and crank, and the truck scoots forward, like, just a little bit. So, clearly there's an issue there. But the sound doesn't change in gear, out of gear, clutch down, moving. It doesn't change. It always makes that noise, and it scares me to say this, but it sounds like it could be a bearing, like a bottom end bearing on this, never really run, parked for 2 years before I got it, brand new engine, and then I got it running, and it ran fine, and it makes, well, good power. Chevy says 200, I say 150. But this engine's never really been that good. It's only got 6,000 miles on it. It's about 7 years old. I do have an extra 350. It's the same exact engine, same year and everything. The only problem is that one's got 155,000 miles of unknown abuse on it. So, more than likely, if I get rid of this engine, I'm going to put a Hemi in this thing. So, have a Hemi. Don't want to put a Ford 460 in it. Got one of those too. But, yeah, I've got a 5.7 Hemi to put in it. So, I might do that. But before I do that, Chevy guys, what is this awful, horrible, squeaky noise? Is it a bearing? Is there an oil galley plugged? Like why are we not lubricating something is what I'm concerned about. And again, it's been doing it for years. And it's towed trailers, and it's been crushed flat suspension with weight and stuff, and it's never really let me down until the differential exploded, but 10 bolt. Cruising on the highway, fifth gear, had two seats out of cars in the back, and it just exploded on the highway. It wasn't even on throttle, I was just coasting. But yeah, put a limit slip in it, fix that, and I want to do some other nice things to this truck, including fix the frame rail where the steering box pulled out. But if this engine's hosed, is there anything worth fixing on this truck? Otherwise, my plan would be to Hemi swap it if the frame's worth saving. But I don't know. What do you think?